Welcome back to We the People. After examining the fractures in national politics, we now turn to something even more personal, the financial and legal challenges that many Americans are facing every day. Joining me now is someone who understands that landscape better than most. Christina Vilaboa-Abel is the founder of CAVA Law, a respected South Florida law firm that focuses on insolvency, debt litigation, negotiation, and real estate law. And what sets CAVA Law apart is its unwavering commitment to personalized legal care, treating each case as unique, each client as a real person, and each solution as a custom tailored aspect. Whether you're facing mounting debt, a complex property dispute, or need for bankruptcy protection, Christina and her team bring not only expertise, but compassion and clarity. Christina, welcome to We the People. It's truly a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Eileena. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Christina, tell us a little about what inspired you to found CAVA Law and how your firm's mission differs from the traditional law firms that I've been doing this for quite some time for, just sees where your uniqueness really is the shining light.
Yes, yes. We did it with a hope. By we, I mean me and my business partner. We're both founding partners of the firm. We did it with the hope of injecting the human element back into legal service. The foundational area of law that our firm specializes and started in was in bankruptcy. And at least in our geographic area, that's an area of law that tends to be very volume based. So, somebody struggling with their financials would go to a bankruptcy law firm and be a number and wouldn't get that personalized service. So, you know, we said, we need to find a system, a process, an operational format that will allow the practice of law to really not just address the law, but the human that is the law is affecting.
And that is so important, especially when you're dealing with, look at, I mean, since COVID, since 2020, it's amazing that it's only 5 years ago that we are now seeing more families, more individuals reliant on credit cards to get them through their monthly bills. And I was just talking to this with one of my clients, like now the interest rates are 30% plus on these credit
Mm.
cards. Like it's a never ending cycle. And I know that your firm specializes in insolvency and debt litigation, two areas that are incredibly personal and often overwhelming, not just for the client, but for the families and or businesses. What's one thing you wish more people understood before they walk through your door?
That's a great question. I think that the quote that I once heard about law being like IKEA furniture, in which, you could technically do it on your own with all the parts, but good luck. Law is very similar. A lot of people walk into an attorney's office thinking that they can just kind of tell their attorney sort of what's going on and let the attorney figure it out. But anybody dealing with a legal issue has to keep in mind this is your life, whether that be your financial life, your personal life, if it's a divorce, your immigration status, if it's an immigration issue, um, it's your life. And really, the attorney handling whatever matter it is can grab your circumstances and insert the tools, strategies, and put the conditions where they need to be to help resolve the problem if it is possible. But the client, the person seeking that attorney's help, tiene que estar ahí. They need to be involved and really um, take the attorney by the hand and push forward the facts so the attorney really uses a knowledge, experience, and background to mold the legal situation as it needs to be molded.
And I couldn't agree more because you do see oftentimes, like I've been doing family law for 28 plus years. And that is the one where everybody's like, I can do it. I have a client now that constantly tells me that she could be a lawyer. She could do it better. And I love that because I was like, okay, let's just educate you on where the intricacies are and why a lawyer especially in an involved case or matter like bankruptcy or even property litigation, you need those expertise of a lawyer who not only understands the laws, but also the procedures and how best to navigate certain matters.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And in a moment where we're seeing many people facing rising costs and property disputes, mounting debts, what, from your perspective, how is this shifting economic landscape that we're experiencing now, and there's still a lot of unknowns, impacting your clients on the ground right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, um, I'll tell you, at least in bankruptcy, for example, one of the analyses that we have to do, there are many, but one of them is obviously the income and expenses that a person has on a monthly basis to present that to the court, et cetera. And then there's a way that we can use what the IRS has as national standards of regular household expenses like food, rent, if somebody rents an apartment or a house, personal care supplies, things like that, to kind of shift the budget that we're presenting. And what is interesting is that at least where my practice is, which is in South Florida, the economic landscape has shifted in such a way, especially in the real estate market, that the IRS national standards that we 5, 6, 7 years ago could use to apply to kind of make creative arguments and shift the budget to where things need to be to restructure the person's financial life, they don't apply here. They don't apply here. For example, the average rent for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath is way above what the IRS national standard would consider a normal housing monthly cost to look like. So as financial legal practitioners, those of us here in South Florida seeing how those rental increases and such have really affected the way we even have to kind of prosecute these cases, and try to negotiate a better budget for our clients. It's crazy. That and insurance costs too. The insurance fight here in Florida and the state of Florida is very, very intense and really, really increasing costs.
Well, and I couldn't agree with you more because we were already in the Southwest Florida area, in the Fort Myers, Naples area. We were always heavy on the rental side, and it's very landlord friendly. And it was that even before 2020 and things like that. But we're looking at a person renting an 800 square foot loft is almost $2,000 a month.
Yes.
And that's, we're starting to see that. And again, I'm seeing more and more clients coming in with greater amount of credit card debts, not being able to get out of that hole. And I know that you handle bankruptcies, but I'm just curious, are more people pursuing the bankruptcy route, or are they looking at debt settlement than, like, say, a couple of years ago or 5 years ago, comparably?
Yes, actually, that's a great question. I think the amount of people looking at other options has increased, but whether before COVID or after COVID, I'll tell you this, Eileena, the debt settlement route, I've rarely seen only a handful of debt consolidation and debt settlement companies that actually do things and in a way that end up with a positive result. Um, because when people end up in my office after trying that, what they get is half of their debts maybe settled or less than half, and then the rest already putting them into the courts. And usually the settlement companies don't do anything. Their contract doesn't encompass legal defense if the debts that couldn't be settled or consolidated or what have you end up suing them because they had to default to be able to negotiate in the first place. So it always ends up kind of being a little bit scattered and messy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I explain to people, well, if you had really been stuck against the wall from the outset and you sought consolidation, having looked at insolvency, at bankruptcy as a tool and not this death sentence, as a lot of people look at it, would have really benefited them because in looking at that, they would have realized, oh my goodness, bankruptcy is not just liquidation under Chapter 7, but also restructuring. There's many chapters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they could have done, what is very similar to a debt consolidation under Chapter 13 and use the bankruptcy court to stop any litigation that they couldn't stop with that consolidation. And so many clients have gone through that and then ended up with us and said, oh my God, if only I had really looked at bankruptcy as not just a right, because it is a right in our country, but a tool to really help me in this situation. People think it's just, oh, you file and you get rid of your debts and that's it. No, no, no. There's so many more ways to structure things under the bankruptcy code that the general public just doesn't understand.
See, and I love that because you kind of touched on what I was going to ask, like the misconceptions. Because true, people think, oh my God, bankruptcy, it's a death knell, and it's not a way. And I see it even more so, like bringing it up with clients that are going through a divorce, because if you're saddled with all this debt and you're drowning, literally, this could be something that would assist in that restructuring. I'm so glad that you brought that up. And it also goes directly into the reputation that you and your law firm have built, in that not only are you skilled litigators, but you're compassionate in your advocacy for your clients. And that is so important for clients and for the community to realize that there are attorneys that are truly there to advocate on your behalf and treat you with respect and compassion and empathy. We're
Exactly.
and we're definitely going to go deeper into strategies and business litigation with Christina after this quick commercial break. Tune right back in after this.